Did you know that in Czech there are only 3 grammatical tenses? The future, the present and the past. But how do we deal with sentences such as have you ever been to Australia, which is in present perfect? Let's find out in this video. Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. And in this video I'll explain how to deal with the missing present perfect in Czech. We don't miss it at all. So imagine this situation. 2 friends are talking and one says, my daughter has been living in Australia for 2 years. And the other one asks, oh, have you been there? Have you been to Australia? And both sentences in English we have present perfect. This is continuous. And this one is present perfect simple. Now, how do we say those sentences in Czech? We could say, moje dcera už 2 roky žije v Austrálii. Moje dcera už 2 roky žije v Austrálii. Nebo bydlí. The word order could also be slightly different, depends on the context, but we will not speak about the word order here. Have you been there could be translated as už si tam byl, or byl si tam, byla si tam. Byl si tam, byla si tam. Have you been there? This is present tense and this is past tense. So let me explain how this works. As I mentioned before, in Czech there are 3 grammatical tenses. We have past, present and future. Of course, we also have perfective and imperfective verbs, but here we are talking about tenses, only 3 tenses. So the present perfect is not easy at all for Czech people to grasp because it's not present and it's not past. I clearly remember when I was studying this at school when I was still a kid and we were learning about present perfect. Until a couple of years later I really got the idea. And after that, when I used to teach English to Czech people, some of my students would go crazy when they found out there is such a thing as present perfect, simple and continuous. Because why? In our Czech mentality, there is only past, present, and future. Let's find the rule together. These 4 sentences are in Czech and we will translate them together into English in present perfect. Easy, right? Viděl jste tuhle ženu? I don't know, a policeman shows a picture and asks, viděl jste tuhle ženu? Have you seen this woman? Have you seen this woman? Of course, this would need more context because you could argue and say, well, this is past tense, so we could also say, did you see this woman the other day? Yes, it could also be past tense. But we are translating these sentences with the notion that we are going to use the present perfect in English. Číslo 2. Kristýna se učí česky už 3 roky. We don't have to use už, but we like to use it. This means Kristýna has been learning Czech for 3 years. So she has been learning Czech for 3 years. Kristýna se učí česky. We will compare these sentences once we have translated all of them. Číslo 3. Vždycky jsem chtěl být spisovatel. Or spisovatelem is also possible. I have always wanted to be a writer. A číslo 4. Jak dlouho tady čekáš? How long have you been waiting here? Now let's see these sentences and find a rule that could help us figure out how to deal with this missing present perfect in Czech. Let's see the Czech sentence first. Viděl jste tuhle ženu? We will look for the verb here. Viděl jste. This is past tense. So past tense. Viděl jste. In English is have you seen this woman? Present perfect, simple. What about the second one? Kristýna se učí. Učí se, this is present tense. And Kristýna has been learning Czech. Has been learning, this is present perfect, continuous. The third one, vždycky jsem chtěl být spisovatel. Chtěl jsem být, chtěl jsem. This is past tense. And I have always wanted to be a writer. I have wanted. That's present perfect. Simple. Jak dlouho tady čekáš? Čekáš is the verb and this is present. Present tense in Czech. And in English, How long have you been waiting? This is present perfect continuous. Got a little crowded in here. Maybe by now you've already figured it out. Past tense in Czech. Present perfect simple. Present tense, present perfect continuous. Does it work here too? Past tense in Czech. Present perfect simple. Present tense, past perfect continuous. So this is actually the rule that works in most of the cases. Viděl jste tuhle ženu? We refer to the past, in the past. Have you seen her? It doesn't matter when. In the Czech language, this is finished. We're asking about something that was done. It doesn't matter that it can still happen. It's done. We refer to the past. And Christina has been studying Czech for 3 years. It doesn't matter that she studied 3 years ago or yesterday. The important thing is she's studying Czech now. We're saying she's studying Czech. That's important. We're talking about present. And it doesn't matter if we say, how long has she been studying? We still refer to the present. Vždycky jsem chtěl být spisovatel. This one might not be as clear, but still in Czech we express it by the past tense because we are talking about our life, that you wished for this. And you're not saying that you want to be a writer now. You're saying that you wished for it in the past. And you still want it, but in Czech, this refers to the past. Actually, me knowing English for so many years, I think that it's much more logical to use the present perfect here than the past tense. So I now understand the other side, the English logic, but we have to deal with what we have here. Jak dlouho tady čekáš? This is the same thing as here, number 2. You are waiting here. We're referring to the present. You are waiting here. How long? It doesn't matter. If you say čekám tady, I'm waiting here. If you say čekám tady hodinu, still present tense. Čekám tady 2 hodiny, present tense. So you understand that for Czechs, it's very problematic to learn about the present perfect for the first time because the idea is crazy. Why do we have to refer to something which is in between? So we figured out a rule. In English, when there is present perfect simple, in Czech we translate it as past. And in English, when there is present perfect continuous, in Czech we translate it as present most of the time. Present perfect continuous in Czech often uses these auxiliary words that can give us a hint that's been happening still. You've already seen that. Už is one of them, which means already. Sometimes we use it to emphasize that it's been already going for some time. Or if you want to translate ever, have you ever been there? Už si tam někdy byl, někdy. Of course, this can also be translated as sometimes, but I'm talking about the context of the present perfect tenses. Or if you say it hasn't been done yet, you would say ještě. Ještě jsem to neudělal, I haven't done it yet. Ještě jsem to neudělal. Or also in the question, if you said už si to udělal, have you done it yet? So if we have a question, we could also translate this as yet. But these words don't have to be there. We would guess from the context if it's still going on or not. Now let's do more translations from English to Czech. Let's look at these typical sentences in present perfect in English and we will translate them to Czech. Have you ever tried octopus? As in, have you ever had it as a meal? Remember the rules. The present perfect simple in English is translated by the past tense in Czech. And present perfect continuous is translated by the present. Have you ever tried? This is present perfect simple in English. And we're asking about something that happened in the past in Czech. So we will use past tense. We could work with the verb to have. Have you ever had octopus? Měl si or měla si. Ever could be translated as někdy. Měla si někdy. And octopus is chobotnice. And we need the accusative case. Chobotnici. Měla si někdy chobotnici. We could even emphasize it by adding už. Už jsi někdy měla chobotnici? Měl jsi někdy chobotnici? Už jsi někdy měl chobotnici? Už někdy číslo 2. I've written like 1,000 emails today. I have written, this is present perfect simple. We will use past tense in Czech. Let's translate the verb first, the verb form. I have written, we need past tense, so we would say napsal or napsala jsem. Now we continue with this part. 1,000 emails. 1000 e-mailů. Like can be translated as asi. Napsala jsem asi 1000 e-mailů. Now what do we do with today? Today changes things a little bit because I would not put it at the end. It just doesn't sound natural. I would put it here, dnes, dneska. And then we have to switch the order here. Dneska jsem napsala asi 1000 e-mailů. Dneska jsem napsala asi 1000 e-mailů. I have written 1,000 emails today. Číslo 3. I have been working non-stop today. Now, this is present perfect continuous. Let's translate the verb first again. We will need the present tense. Pracuju. Now, how can we translate non-stop? We could say non-stop in Czech. We could also use an interesting Czech word nepřetržitě, which means uninterruptedly, without interruption. And you could also use non-stop. And again, today doesn't sound very well at the end, so I will put it here. Dneska pracuju nepřetržitě. Nepřetržitě. Remember this word, nepřetržitě. We haven't seen each other for ages. We haven't seen each other. This is present perfect simple. You're talking about something that already happened. Let's start by the verb. Haven't seen each other. Neviděli, or neviděli, depends if there are women only. Neviděli jsme se. Se means each other. It shows the reciprocity. Neviděli jsme se. Now, for ages, this is something very common in English, and there is a literal translation for that in Czech. Věky. That means ages or for ages, but we don't use it as much. So I'll put it down here. I will give you a better alternative that we use. We like to say strašně dlouho, terribly long. You could add už. Neviděli jsme se už strašně dlouho, but it's not necessary. You could also put strašně dlouho at the beginning. Strašně dlouho jsme se neviděli. Another good alternative for ages would also be neviděli jsme se ani nepamatuju, which means we haven't seen each other. I don't even remember how long. Ani nepamatuju. This is a good alternative for informally expressing that something hasn't happened in the longest time. It hasn't been easy these past couple of days. I put the rules away. I hope you will remember. This is present perfect and we will use past tense in Czech. Nebylo, it wasn't. Nebylo to lehké. In these past couple of days, past would be translated as poslední, but we need a different case. We actually would use the genitive case. Nebylo to lehké posledních pár dní. Or also sounds better to put this at the beginning. When we express time, we like to put it at the beginning unless we really want to emphasize it. Posledních pár dní, and we switch these two, to nebylo lehké. Posledních pár dní to nebylo lehké. They have been traveling a lot recently. Recently, that's another key word for present perfect. In Czech, we translate it as poslední dobou. Let's put it here. That would be the best to put it at the beginning. They have been traveling. This is present perfect continuous, and in Czech, it's still present tense. Poslední dobou. The verb would be cestují or cestujou a lot. It's better to put it here right before the verb. Poslední dobou hodně cestují. Their dog has been barking all day. Our last sentence. Also present perfect continuous. So we are talking about something that is happening. The bark is štěkat. Štěkat. Let's translate it first. So we say the dog is barking. Štěká. Bez štěká would be the dog is barking or has been barking. Now we need to say their dog. Jejich pes. All day is celý den. And it sounds better not to keep it at the very end, but right here before the verb. Celý den. In fact, if you put this one at the beginning, it doesn't sound right. Celý den jejich pes štěká. That sounds not very natural. Let me know how you did with the translation. Let's read these sentences together. Have you ever tried octopus? And you will read the ones in bold. Už jsi někdy měl chobotnici? I've written like 1,000 emails today. Dneska jsem napsal asi 1000 e-mailů. Nebo napsala. I have been working non-stop today. Dneska pracuju nepřetržitě. We haven't seen each other for ages. Neviděli jsme se už strašně dlouho. It hasn't been easy these past couple of days. Posledních pár dní to nebylo lehké. They have been traveling a lot recently. Poslední dobou hodně cestují. Their dog has been barking all day. Jejich pes celý den štěká. If you think that you need to practice the grammatical cases and learn more about them, don't forget to check my ebook Just in Case and the study tables that come with it. I'm very grateful for everyone who purchased my ebook. Děkuji vám. Dámy a pánové, to je ode mě všechno. I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment if you have any other questions regarding this topic, or if you have any other suggestion about something that is not so easily expressed in Czech. Mějte se krásně a uvidíme se za týden. Ahoj!